Tonight on CFTK-TV News, MLA Claire Rattay reacts to a recent violent attack in Terrace, how cruise ship season is shaping up in Prince Rupert, and BC ostrich farmers ordered to cull.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. I'm Jaylene Matthews. We begin tonight with our news local to the Northwest. Last week, we covered a story in which a local business owner was allegedly attacked and seriously injured inside his place of work, and the perpetrator was charged with assault and quickly released. We reached out to MLA Claire Rattay for her take on the situation. On May 6, 2025, Noman Khan was in an altercation with a patron of the Days Inn Hotel, which ultimately led to what he says was a brutal physical attack from behind. Khan was very seriously injured. The perpetrator was charged with assault and released. Khan is seeking additional charges of aggravated assault, as well as uttering threats and causing mischief. MLA Claire Rattay says she's meeting with the RCMP to discuss.
So what I can say is that I'm meeting with the RCMP later today to discuss this issue and a few others that constituents have brought forward. But it speaks to a bit of a deeper issue that we have right now around our justice system. And we've seen, certainly in Terrace here, the effects of poor policies when it comes to bail, when it comes to repeat offenders. And so I think that a lot of people in the community are quite frustrated. We've seen issues around, break and enters and vandalism to properties. It's been very difficult on the small business community, and obviously he's also a business owner himself. I know that, his family is absolutely distraught. It's been very emotionally taxing on him and his family and his staff, and nobody should have to feel unsafe going to work.
Rattay says that dealing with bail and repeat offenders falls under the federal government, and she's hoping to see new bail reform laws come forth with the new government. However, she says her goal is to work with the federal government to make sure the issue is a priority.
I just want to get a better understanding of what happened and why the decision was made to lay the charges the way that they did. I think that frequently we see charges being laid that, in my opinion, are not as severe as they should be, because perhaps there's a sense of realizing that if they go with what the charges that would be the most appropriate, they may not get a conviction. And so, again, I think that's the deeper issue of we need some serious reform when it comes to some of the federal laws. And so that would be kind of my goal, is to be able to work with my federal counterpart on trying to make sure that the federal government is taking this seriously and that it's a priority for them.
Next, we'll dive into how Prince Rupert's cruise season is shaping up, as well as what ships will be coming by in the near future. CFTK-TV's Kale Maslin has more.
The city of Prince Rupert relies quite heavily on its cruise ship season as a method of attracting new customers from outside their jurisdiction to their local businesses, and by proxy helping the city improve its overall revenue stream. And in a recent interview with the mayor of Prince Rupert, he talked a bit about how the cruise ship season had gone for them to this point.
It's so very, very early in the season, but the response has been very good. There's sort of more and more every year for people to do, and of course we get more seasoned. Our tour guides, our bus operators, all of those tour operators, and certainly from what I've been witnessing, it's been pretty successful.
The Prince Rupert Cruise Port is coming off of a successful 2024 season that saw them reportedly draw in a total of over 59,000 passengers in a total of 43 ship calls, while also achieving milestones like adding 12 excursions and 2 immersive experiences to the options available for people to take part in while hanging out at the port. There are also a couple of options to look at online for anyone looking to get a better idea of what ships and/or cruise lines will be showing up at the port, how many passengers they hold, and at what times they'll be arriving at.
If it's not on our website, it would be on the port's website. The Prince Rupert Port Authority would have princerupertport.com.
As for what the city's ship schedule for the rest of this month looks like, the Ruby Princess will appear this Friday at the port at about 7 a.m. and leave at around 2 p.m. May 27th will see 2 ships dock at the port, with the Oceania Riviera arriving at 7 a.m. and departing at 5 p.m. and the Seabourn Quest will get there at 8 a.m. before leaving at 11 p.m. And lastly, on May 30th, the Serenade of the Seas will have the same 7 a.m. arrival and 5 p.m. departure as the Oceania Riviera. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cale Maslin.
Coming up next, ostrich farm in crisis. Now over to southeastern BC, where the ordered cull of hundreds of ostriches has caused significant controversy after the ostrich farmers fought the order. CTV's Andrew Johnson reports.
An ostrich farm in the BC interior is drawing protesters from across the country, trying to save its flock of 400 ostriches.
Our hearts are full, and it just helps, obviously, all those hugs and encouraging words from kind people of people across Canada that have come here.
The CFIA ordered the birds destroyed in December after the discovery of avian flu, a grim process that's played out at farms across Canada to try to stop the spread to other farms, animals, and humans. More than 14 million birds have been killed. The ostrich farm fought the order in court, stalling it for months. Now the owners say the surviving birds are healthy.
This doesn't make sense. Let's retest these animals. Let's look at us like a recovered flock.
Last week, a judge sided with the CFIA, greenlighting the cull the federal agency says will go ahead, a decision that has angered activists and even has the premier expressing frustration.
What's hard to watch is a lack of discretion and ability to evaluate case-by-case scenarios.
In a statement, the federal agency says, allowing a domestic poultry flock known to be exposed to avian influenza to remain alive allows a potential source of the virus to persist. It would increase the possibility of reassortment or mutation. An infectious disease expert calls this an ethical dilemma, but believes a cull should still go ahead.
It's very dangerous to set a precedent to say we're just going to refuse to comply with this CFIA order. I have a tremendous amount of empathy in this case because it feels, inherently unfair and arguably even unethical to have to put down these animals that for all intents and purposes seem healthy. The problem is if everybody does that, though, it creates a huge amount of increased risk.
The CFIA is not sharing when exactly the cull will go ahead. Protesters at the farm trying to save the birds are promising to stick around. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
Frustration now over the heartless treatment of a man who was viciously attacked by dogs and left to bleed out on the side of the road by the owners. CTV's Ben Milger has the details.
He was just locked in. It's like there's no way I could get him off.
It happened mid-morning on Mother's Day. While David Peter was out for his daily walk along Hemlock Valley Road, he noticed an older gray truck parked in a pullout. That's when 2 aggressive dogs came after him, mauling his arms as they knocked him to the ground.
Felt like it was about 5 minutes that the dogs were biting into me.
A man and a woman eventually managed to gain control of the dogs, which Peter believes were both pit bulls. But instead of helping him, he says they loaded the dogs into their truck and then just drove away as he lay bleeding at the side of the road. A member of the Stateless First Nation, Peter is being supported by his family and community as everyone tries to comprehend why the couple left him prone and injured at the roadside.
We're just disheartened as a community to hear the events, how they unfolded, and the complete disregard for, our brother.
Fortunately, Peter was able to call 911, and the dispatcher stayed on the phone with him for 33 minutes until paramedics arrived at the remote location. We have to blur these photos of his injured arm because they are so graphic.
There was like flesh falling out of my arm. I got over 50 stitches, and most of it's all on my left arm.
Agassiz RCMP confirm the mauling is under investigation, but say they have no updates to provide at this time. Peter knows it could have ended tragically for him, and that's why he's so angry at the man and woman involved.
I could have been dying, but they just drove by and left. They didn't check if I needed help.
Ben Milger, CTV News.
Turning to the weather, the sun rose at 5:15 a.m. this morning in the northwest and sets at 9:46 p.m. tonight. The current moon phase is a waning crescent at 35% illumination. Tonight on the north coast, expect conditions to be partly cloudy with a low of 6 degrees. Over the next few days on the north coast, expect a mix of sun and clouds Thursday, then rain and showers getting into the weekend. Daily temperatures between 11 and 12 degrees, overnight lows between 7 and 9 degrees. Tonight in the Terrace-Kitimat area, expected to be partly cloudy with a 30% chance of showers early this evening. Winds from the south at 20 kilometers an hour, gusting to 40, becoming light in the evening, a low of 6 degrees. Over the next few days in the Terrace-Kitimat area, expect a mix of sun and clouds Thursday, then showers as we get into the weekend. Temperatures between 12 and 15 degrees, overnight lows between 7 and 9 degrees. Tonight in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, it's looking partly cloudy with a 30% chance of showers early in the evening, as well as a risk of thunderstorm, and fogged patches developing overnight. Winds from the west at 20 kilometers an hour and a low of -2 with a risk of frost. Over the next few days in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, expect sunshine tomorrow, then rain and showers for the rest of the week and weekend. Daily highs between 12 and 16 degrees, overnight lows between 6 and 8 degrees. Checking your highways around the northwest now. On Highway 16, there's flooding west of Port Clements. Expect delays. There's also bridge maintenance, road sweeping, and utility work throughout. On Highway 37, watch for bridge construction, frost heaves, as well as road maintenance. On Highway 37A, watch for falling rocks. On Highway 118, there is roadside brushing, as well as shoulder maintenance. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, the state of inflation in Canada. Police in Powell River say a float plane has crashed in nearby Refuge Cove, injuring 3 people. The crash happened on Monday around 7 p.m. when the plane operating as part of a sightseeing tour crashed into the water. The 3 people on board were able to get out of the plane and climb onto a pontoon, and the Coast Guard then took all 3 to Campbell River for assessment. Initial reports show that weather may have been a contributing factor to the crash. And a string of violent attacks in the Vancouver area have resulted in an arrest. However, it's one of many concerning assaults that have happened in BC lately. Here's CTV's Martin McMahon.
The details on this are highly concerning. There's a pool nearby, the beach of course, and even a playground. And you can just imagine how busy this area was on a holiday Monday. A woman was in a change room near the pool when she was choked and sexually assaulted. Police have arrested and charged 35-year-old Hartley Ronald Duckhorn with a series of offenses, including sexual assault with a weapon.
Obviously a very serious stranger attack that occurred in a public place. The washroom or changing room at a public beach, and we're thankful that we were able to respond as quickly as we did to get that suspect into custody.
Duckhorn pleaded guilty to an unrelated sexual assault in Surrey in 2021. And that wasn't the only random violence in recent days. Police revealed that a 70-year-old man was assaulted Friday afternoon near Homer and West Pender Street. He was sent to hospital. Derek James McFeeters has been charged with 1 count of assault. He has a long criminal record, including being found guilty of manslaughter in 2011. Vancouver police also providing an update on another troubling attack. Peter Hans Nungu has been released into the community, where he is under house arrest. He's the man accused of attacking a tourist last month in Cole Harbour. Nungu was out on bail at the time, awaiting a court date for allegedly attacking a peace officer days earlier. While some may scoff at house arrest, this lawyer insists the bail system is working.
We have bail because we presume people to be innocent, and clearly it's a serious case. But the answer is not to remove the presumption of innocence and detain people without trial.
As for this most recent stranger attack, Duckhorn remains in custody pending a bail hearing. Martin McMahon, CTV News, Vancouver.
New data on inflation rates in Canada is looking somewhat optimistic, as inflation rates are seemingly down across the country. CTV's Colton Prale explains.
The cost of living is going up a little slower. New data from Statistics Canada shows the inflation rate cooling off, rising just 1.7% in April. Thanks in large part to Ottawa's scrapping of the consumer carbon tax, energy prices as a whole dropped significantly. Gasoline leading the way at 18% year over year. Lower oil prices and higher supply from OPEC countries also contributing to the fall. But experts caution this drop is hiding upwards pressure elsewhere.
Great news for consumers that the overall basket has been essentially pulled down by so much because of the impact of gasoline prices, essentially. But I think still lots of concern here in terms of policy for the Bank of Canada going forward.
With energy excluded, inflation was up nearly 3%, a higher rate than in March. Grocery prices were a significant driver. Staples like beef jumping 16% year over year. Coffee and tea prices climbing 13%. Fruits and vegetables, both fresh and frozen, were also up.
Over the next 6 months, if you are willing to eat seasonally, we'll probably start getting some relief on Canadian produced products.
Grocery costs have risen faster than inflation for 3 months in a row.
All of this will be closely monitored by the Bank of Canada, whose next interest rate decision comes in just 2 weeks. Experts say a rate cut is possible even if there's rising inflationary pressure, but only if the bank thinks the economy is weak enough.
Turning to the markets now, Canada's main stock index took its biggest tumble in nearly 6 weeks today, while American markets fell even harder under pressure from rising U.S. Treasury yields, amid worries about the U.S. government's spiraling debt. The Canadian dollar rose by almost half a cent. The price of gold rose by $28.90. Oil dropped 46 cents. Natural gas fell by 6 cents. Aluminum rose by $8. In Toronto, the TSX dropped 216 points. The Venture Index fell by 14. In New York, the Nasdaq dropped 270 points, and the Dow Jones fell by almost 817. Still ahead, triggers and tensions continue in the Middle East. Welcome back. Many small businesses have been feeling the heat lately, with the trade war increasing costs and, as CTV's Craig Krause reports, in some cases increasing shipping times.
There we go. For years, this deli has called Commercial Drive in Vancouver home. Two polar bears and a caribou, $4.25 please. Customers coming from across the Lower Mainland for specialty Turkish, Greek, and other international products. But in recent months,
more often than not nowadays, those shipping containers have been delayed.
Held up at Canadian Customs and Border Services to get inspected and searched. The problem, the longer the shipments sit, the products get closer to their expiry date or at risk of being left out of holiday celebrations.
We had one shipping container that came in that was supposed to come during the holidays and arrived in November, which is great. It then got delayed in Montreal for a couple weeks. Okay, that's fine. It was still going to come in early December. That's great. No, it arrived in Vancouver and got delayed, and it finally got released to us for us to finally unload on Christmas Day.
Hundreds of dollars to pay the customs broker on top of the soaring cost of each container.
We were worried it might go up above the 100K mark if this keeps up, which I'm praying not.
If it does happen, what happens to the business?
Kaput.
In a statement to CTV News, CBSA wrote that all goods entering Canada undergo examination and inspection based upon health risks. Under the authority of the Customs Act, the CBSA has the authority to examine shipments imported to Canada and may detain goods suspected of non-compliance.
Got to keep out dangerous chemicals and products, and who's going to argue with that? But there is increasing suggestions, claims made that some countries are using food safety standards as a non-tariff barrier and a subtle form of protectionism.
Whether that's the case here remains unknown. Regardless, Gersis and his family will continue hoping for change as their future remains in the hands of the border.
I've made so many friends with all the customers here, and it would not just break my heart, but break their hearts to see this wonderful place go away forever.
Craig Crow, CTV News, Vancouver.
Now to Gaza, where aid is becoming more and more difficult to come by as the war drags on. Here's CTV's Adrian Gabriel.
Empty pots in hand, vital aid is drying up as blood continues to spill onto the streets of Gaza. With thousands of mothers now malnourished, the UN says those with newborns are unable to produce the milk needed to breastfeed their babies.
There are 14,000 babies that will die in the next 48 hours unless we can reach them.
Several dozen trucks with flour, medicine, and baby formula are said to have been approved to cross into the war-torn region.
There are over 9,000 trucks at the border. Prime Minister Netanyahu, end this blockade now and let the aid in.
The United Kingdom have suspended their free trade talks with Israel. In a joint statement, the UK, France, and Canada have said that if Israel doesn't cease its renewed military offensive and lift all restrictions on humanitarian aid, sanctions will be delivered.
People are desperate for this food.
Ahmed Jaber's niece and nephew, as well as his parents, are living on limited rations in Gaza.
What's the point of not allowing food? What's the point of not allowing water?
What do you believe the purpose is?
The purpose is killing, genocide.
A claim Israel's prime minister has denied. Benjamin Netanyahu used the same word, taking to social media to condemn the position of the British, French, and Canadian governments, saying in part, the leaders in London, Ottawa, and Paris are offering a huge prize for the genocidal attack on Israel on October 7th. While inviting more such atrocities. On the streets of Jerusalem, some are supporting Netanyahu's position.
I think they're a bunch of hypocrites. They care more about virtue signaling to their voters.
For Jaber, whose brother has already been killed and whose loved ones are now living in the blown-out remains of their family home, he shares a desperate plea to all sides involved in the conflict.
Let Gaza live. That's my cry.
The UN says any trickle of aid that's been allowed to cross into Gaza has yet to reach innocent Palestinians.
That's our news for now. For more local news, you can visit us at cftktv.com. We're also on YouTube, TikTok, Blue Sky, X, and more. Thanks for watching.